Independent media inevitably leads to independent politics and independent thought. And
independent media leads to independent politics and independent thought.
Bingo!
And they cannot have that.
there are points in my life when my personal self-regard would have loved the idea that I would be considered important enough to attack on this scale, to spend this amount of revenue and resources on. But I'm now seeing that independent media itself is an extraordinary threat. That independent media inevitably leads to independent politics and independent thought. And
independent media leads to independent politics and independent thought.
Bingo!
And they cannot have that. So be saying the UN and NWO need Russia as a big bad guy to use as a distraction, like China uses North Korea, and to a lesser degree, the UN and USA uses Israel as a distraction in the Middle East.
Look, over there!
Yeah, this is they don't want you talking about all that. Yeah, exactly. They don't want you talking about all that. Come on, man.
Independent media inevitably leads to independent politics and independent thought. And we appear to be at some precipitous moment of radical transition. I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if anybody could be sure of where this is all heading, what the exact teleology is, but it seems to be to do with mass centralization, globalization, significant attempts to control the information space that are so rigorously adhered to and protected that even what you might imagine to be a marginal voice is considered a significant enough threat to warrant coordinated media attacks, expenditure on peculiar, clandestine, non-government organizations and think tanks that take their money from the military-industrial complex, from the legacy media, who, by the way, when they're critiquing independent media, they got skin in the game. They're not able to independently assess your work or my work or the medical opinions of Joe Rogan.
He's cooking now!
They have a vested interest in destroying those organizations. In the last few years, I've learned about the Trusted News Initiative, which has extraordinary connections again to big pharma and sets of interest around the reporting on war that have decided and determined that they are no longer competing with one another. You in particular come from a journalistic background where it would have been commonplace for the great institutions of American media to compete with one another for scoops. The New York Times versus the world. Those days are gone. It explicitly states on the Trusted News Initiative website, we are no longer in competition with one another. We have to curtail and stamp out. I think it even uses the word choke independent media. And it's
Jesus. And so I think, Russell coming in hot with a comment of the night. Let's give it a dilly. Independent media leads to independent politics, leads to independent thought. And they can't have it. They can't have it. And so what I think we're seeing is it seems like the elites, whatever you want to, however you want to, the deep state, the establishment, whatever you want to say. It seems like there was a status quo that was, everything was going the way they wanted it. They were keeping things good enough that us plebes down here weren't really too involved with, hey, what are you doing over there at the FBI? What's going on at the CIA? They were doing a good enough job that we're like, all right, as long as I can, afford food, keep my family safe, we're good. You guys do what you got to do.
Minding my own business.
Then the internet comes around, and I think there was I don't know if it wasn't expected, or it was, or what, but just the explosion of people questioning exactly these things that they don't want questioned, and now they're desperately trying to force that genie back in the bottle, which of course cannot happen, and so they're looking for any other way to stifle this free thought. Crazy.
Curtail and stamp out. I think it even uses the word choke independent media. And it's clear that there are now sets of globalist organizations funded by government, but also corporations that are making deliberate, profound attempts to shut down any dissent in an astonishingly aggressive way. And to be sort of caught up in it is terrifying on one level, absolutely terrifying, particularly due to the nature of allegations that I faced. But also revealing, more importantly, it's revealing about the way that I believe the world, and in particular this space, will be affected, and the way these events will continue to unfold in the coming years.
Yeah, if you don't, they will stop at nothing. And this is why I'm not confident that Trump is going to make it to the election. I'm not saying I think something is going to happen. I'm just saying I'm not. If I had to put money on the fact that you would be able to vote for Donald Trump in 2024, whether that's because he's, not around or because he's not on the ballot or this, that, or the other. I don't know. We've seen how far they're willing to go. And so far, it's worked with everybody who, I mean, I haven't thought of Russell Brand in the last 5 months. And unfortunately, it's just too easy. There's too many voices that you stamp one out, and there's too many others saying similar things. But again, it's the same kind of thing where it's the opposite, where it's like, okay, the plebes, they're talking and they're not happy, but they're not really saying any of the real stuff. So let's let them complain about racism and transgenders and this and that. And it's just like it's playing whack-a-mole, but at a certain point, that'll work. There's still, the message will still be out there. But if you clamp down enough, there's going to be enough people who don't get the message and fall into the narrative.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed that clip, check out the full live stream link in the bio and catch me live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. See you there.